Alright guys, so what's up? I'm Chris, welcome to VHB Engines. I know a lot of you are probably waiting on me to talk about this fucking B series, but there wasn't really much for me to say, man. These guys are even more tight-lipped than the guys at Four Piston are, and it's hard to find any clear-cut information. When I first saw the shit about the whole 8.7 second fucking B series new world record for NA, first thing I do is, okay, who built it? Go to their Instagram, right? And there's not really much there. Their Instagram is very small. Digging through old pictures, I seen a snapshot of like a tuning magazine, and in like the sidebars, like I had to zoom in on it and kind of like squint my eyes through the fuzz to look at it. It says 2.3 liter LS VTEC 16 something 16.5 to 1 compression or something like that. It was, but then at the side of that, in the page clipping, you can see like 340 horsepower or some shit like that. So these guys are claiming 600 or something, and it's kind of hard to see, like, from they went from 340 to that, they doubled their power, and there's just no info on it. Even getting tagged in a Facebook post, there's no info. They say it. We're not talking about specs. Whatever. Anyway, and so of course it's hugely interesting. I'd like, of course, any big engine news like that, of course, I want to address it and talk about it. But again, so there also another thing was I was gonna do some digging into it. Ask some people that are closer around to the car, closer on the car in the events. But it seems to be that whoever built that fucking car kind of has a beef with Four Piston. Maybe it's kind of a little bit of a clout chasing thing, and it kind of seems that way. Somebody posted, they posted a snippet of they quoted somebody's social media shit, but they blacked it out so that way you couldn't see who probably made it. But the person who made the post called himself out on it, and it was Four Piston Luke actually was the one they were quoting. Said something about building all motors to eking out like 4 or 5 horsepower. That's real all motor shit. And then it says versus a power adder from a blue bottle or whatnot. Now, that's kind of unclear because it's an all motor thing, so it can't be a nitrous bottle because that would be fucking very blatant cheating. And I would, then the next guess would be it was a fuel container and talk about like nitro meth, but that's the class, I believe, so that doesn't really make sense either. And then the reason why I know it was Luke is because Luke called himself out on the post. He commented on there and he said, nice way to cherry pick my page on my page, right? And so I went to go to Four Piston Luke's page, and it's not his Instagram, and I don't follow him on Facebook. Yeah, the reason why I don't follow him on Facebook is because I don't like to add people on Facebook because I have rejection issues. If I add somebody and I get rejected, that fucking sucks. And I don't like pity ads either, let me just add this guy so it doesn't feel bad. So the way I tend to add the bigger guys on social media is if they add me, because at least I know if they're sending me a friend request, they're actually genuinely interested in keeping some kind of connection there, even if we don't regularly communicate. Right? So I tried to find the full statement to find proper context, because people do have a problem with doing that nitpicking, that like taking the part of that they want to quote and leaving out the rest. So I'm kind of left in the dark, and I was like, maybe I should DM Luke or DM Monday and see about getting the dirt on this. But I didn't want to be like Snoopy like that, just to come off seemingly trying to spread gossip, because the last thing that Luke said in his comment was good job on the win or whatnot. So obviously he's not trying to throw shade, but the reason why I say these guys seem to be clout chasing is because they're kind of throwing shade. They're saying that they were kind of being thrown shade on by the Four Piston guys, which doesn't seem to be the case. It seemed to be like more of a miscommunication, or just somebody trying to puff their chest up. So now the suspicious part of me is kind of thinking that there's so many people who are like, oh, what are you going to say about this? Is because I just talked shit about the 650 horsepower K series that came out the other day, and I smashed on everything else, saying that K series is fucking king. That still stands. Why? Because K series regularly puts out super high horsepower NA. K series dominates the class. It is what it is, right? This is kind of similar to the situation with the H22 that Humble Performance tuned not too long ago. They had an 800 plus horsepower H22 that rolled off the dyno, and then all the H series fans, they got their fucking win. They're like, yeah, fucking H is king, bro. H is the way to go. I told you, fucking K series, fucking B series, H is the way to go. And even Kenny was like, nah, there's a reason why K series is the regular ones you see making these high horsepower. It's not as easy to do these as that. So not as easy doesn't mean impossible. It just means not as easy, which also translates to expensive as fuck. Same thing about me talking about the D series high, NA making 200 plus horsepower. Not impossible, not easy, expensive as fuck. And then same thing about me talking about Hub City Performance. When I talk about them revolutionizing the fucking all-wheel drive scene. That's not revolutionary. People have been done it. They're not the first guys. Most of the big guys that are doing all-wheel drive have their shit. The majority of the top 10 is dominated by fucking Hub City Performance. Four-piston racing. Four-piston racing, most of their heads dominate, are on the cars that are dominating the classes across the board. So these are trends that you see. When you see trends, the majority are coming from that, then that's where the crown lays, right? When we start seeing multiple fucking 9-second B series, then we gotta start looking at another thing. Same thing like when I addressed the shit with the B series, K series and boost. Like, damn, 600-700 horsepower is starting to be pretty regular. 500 used to be something I would tiptoe around, but we're starting to see 600 horsepower K series. It's starting to be a little bit more normal. So then I addressed it. The world record B series, 8.7 seconds. When we start to see a whole bunch of B series kicking ass, running 9s, then I'll address it. But until then, K is fucking king still. And I think it will remain that way. I don't know, what these guys did. I can't really tell details on it. But my first thought was they had to use some kind of four-piston head, and what else they'd gone off with there. But from the way they're reacting with Luke, and the way they're being so guarded, it kind of makes me think that there is no collaboration, and they did everything on their own side or through another way. That's impressive, because the head kings of the Honda world right now seem to be four pistons, right? So that's impressive they were able to do that. Now, I guess this is more like a gossipy thing, because I can't really talk about the engine itself. And normally when something like this happens, I prefer to talk about the engine itself. But I guess in this kind of way, in this light, I'm still able to give my opinion on the situation overall, or to say how I feel about seeing this super fast fucking NAB series, right? 1 second, please. And this is something I was debating on too. I was going to kind of make a video. I kind of minusculely touched on it very lightly. I said there was a project I was thinking about I wasn't ready to talk about yet. And I wasn't ready to talk about it at the time because I wasn't 100% sure on what I was going to do. So the 8-second B series thing is over. I'm going to talk about the second part of this video is I'm going to build an engine out of my trash pile. So the other day, I told you guys I was gonna do a K20A2 short block just to sell, right? And then I told you guys that I went through prepping this fucking K20 block, and then got to the point where I was getting ready to put the crank in, and then found that the cylinder walls are scarred up. Now they are scarred up vertically, and it's something that I couldn't, in good conscience, assemble and sell to somebody, and not something that most people would want to buy. They'd freak out when they saw it. Now I'm in a different situation now. Things have changed in my mind, and I've decided on another project that I'm going to do. Now, first thing I know is Chris talk about projects. He does talk about all kinds of different shit all the time. Can never settle on anything. Still haven't got his car running. Well, as of yesterday, axles are in place, throttle cable is in place, the car is drivable. My battery, I just took it. I made the mistake of going to sleep at like 9:30 at night, and when I woke up to take a piss at like around 11, I was wide awake and I couldn't go back to sleep. So I got out of bed, took the battery to the 24-hour auto zone. They went to go to voltage test it, and it had 0 fucking voltage, which is exactly the reason why it wouldn't start, which is what I kind of figured. I figured the car was super dead, and that's why the jump start wasn't working. The jump start only works, guys, if you have some kind of voltage in the battery, and if you have 0 voltage, it's not going to give you anything, right? So anyway, That's the issue. I'm gonna actually set up a tripod or have my wife just kind of film it, me moving the car around, just because of the fact I want to have it on camera showing that the car runs and drives. Hopefully, like I would imagine the throttle response is still gonna be kind of shit because the fuel is kind of bad, but I'm hoping I can just maneuver it a few feet just so I can sweep out the area or whatnot, and just reorganize it to where it's better where I can get at it. As far as what else I can do with that car, I guess I can drop the radiator in the bay and go get some hoses and actually do that. So I'll have the radiator in place, and then I need to put the clamps on all those coolant port block offs I made, or not made but put on, so that way I can actually run coolant to the car now. I actually have some coolant in there. And then also I came to a decision that small intercooler that I bought, well, it's not super small, it's smaller than my big one. The medium-sized intercooler I bought, I'm going to go ahead and go with that. I think besides the fact that I have to repair the other one to use it, it's because I'm not going balls out, right? I would like to see 500 horsepower on E85 with this build, or I would like to see 500 on pump, but the way things are going right now with the way my piping is small and all this shit, I'm kind of starting to get away from the fact accept the fact that might not happen. So I decided that, and for expedience sake, I'm going to bolt on that other intercooler, and I'm going to look at the piping I have and see if I can't fab something to close off the turbo setting, so that way I can actually have boost to the car. If I do that, then I'm just sitting back waiting to get new knuckles for the car, so that way I can actually put it on the dyno. Because at that point, if I can get that on there, then I'm just like, I just need to wire up VTEC and swap out the fuel pump to the Rollbro, and put a fucking speed sensor in the transmission, and like one or two other little small things, and then the car is tunable. I need a map sensor as well, 4-bar. So that you know, we're getting at the point now where the Integra is pretty much done. Like, it's done to the point where I can't do anything else to the car until I tune it, right? So now with that being said, you know, it's getting to that point where it's getting close to being finished. You know, started thinking about the next project. So I got the B series block done, you know, put together. But that block could, you know, literally blow up at any time. So I want to think about doing something else. So I started thinking about doing a single cam. And then, you know, I had this situation where I just finished that high compression, you know, K28.3, and a lot of people are hitting me up about it. Nobody's following through. So I'm thinking about, like, I had it listed for trade for EK shell. I had 2 different people hit me up for a shell trade. I wasn't able to get to one of them fast enough before it went. It was kind of a far drive. So one was the EK coupe. I kind of bailed on it because it's in bad shape. You know, under different circumstances that I might have done the trade, but I couldn't justify it as it was now with the way I want to be having to transport that shell, looking the way it does. So I had to pass on that. Then the EK hatch would have been something I for sure wanted. We were going to get it, but I was just like one day too late. Not a big deal. I was actually going to back out on it. I backed out on it right away, but my friend, you know, told me, hey, we'll go get it. You know, so I'm like, all right, cool. So that's the only reason why I was thinking about it. So now I have this engine that most likely isn't going to sell, so I figured maybe I'll get lucky and get a trade out of it. So if I can get an EG shell, that's a lot more likely, because I'm open to a sedan, a coupe, or a hatch. Right, all 3 versions of the car is fine with me. So it's not being picky. I think that there's a chance that I'll be able to get something for it, or even possibly throw it out there for another DC Integra shell, because they're up for sale all the time, really cheap recently. There's been a lot of shells up for sale for $300. So I figured I might get a trade out of that. Now, what made me start thinking about this project, I was thinking, well, fuck, if I can't fucking sell it, let me just run the damn thing. That way I can prove a point with the power levels and maybe sell some more of those blocks. Or, and even, if not, just for the fact to have a secondary car that I can sell or trade. And then I was like, well, fuck, if I'm going to do that, maybe I just put the, you know, the big bore K20 in there, the 88 millimeter one at high compression, and make the 250 horsepower, right? And I was like, yeah, maybe I should do that. But then, you know, the idea is I want that to be a 6-speed swap, right? And on top of that, you know, I sell or trade the car. The pistons in that engine were a gift from Jesse. I'm not the guy who likes to sell or trade gifts. So I want to keep that engine with me long term. So that's why I'm thinking about putting in the RSX, because the RSX I'm not going to trade that car. I'm going to keep that car, right? So I'm like, well, fuck, what else can I do? You know, what else can I do? And then I started thinking about, you know, what I said the other day about when I was talking about the VTEC killer. I'm like, well, the only way I would ever do this is if I had the parts and I couldn't use the head anymore. So it got me thinking. Because and the reason why I eventually started coming back to that thought was because I need to get the RBC cam gear off of one of my EP3 heads outside. So in the process of thinking about that, I was like, damn, if I'm gonna be taking the cam gear off, you know, and sparing parts, I was like, let me check my head again over here. Let's see if I can't, you know, it's warped, but I couldn't remember how badly it was warped. I was like, maybe it's not that bad. I can check it again, and if it's like a couple thousandths of an inch off, I'll just risk it and run it anyway. And so I flipped it over and I checked it again. It's 9 thousandths of an inch. Like the warpage is 9 thousandths. It's pretty fucking bad. Like it's so bad that it might not be savable. 10 thousandths of an inch is supposed to be so badly warped that you can't shave that much off because it'll fuck up, you know, the cam gears, like, or the cams. It's gonna warp there too. Also, like I know from machining for redoing head surfaces, is that when they fix the head, they don't just shave it. They also fix the warpage through like heating up the block and mounting it to another block, like heating up the head and mounting it to some block and then straightening it out. And then after they straighten it out as much as they can there, then they shave off the remainder. So there's a good chance, there's the chance that it might be savable. But the fact is that I'm gonna have to spend $125 for the machine shop to shave that head, and that head would be put on my K24 block that I plan on boosting, or the built K20 block that also is planned for boost if it doesn't sell. So I'm like, well, fuck, that's not gonna be for a long time. So I was like, well, and I can always buy another RBB head for $200. So I figured, fuck it, why not, right? I'm gonna take that block that is scratched up, and I'm gonna throw EP3 rods or A3 rods on A2 pistons, and I'm gonna take those fucking Z3 cams, put it in an EP3 head, because I've got a bunch of A3 heads laying around, so I got plenty. You know, was it the one I took the rocker arm assembly that I took off to put on another head that I used the other day, because I already bolted the head down and the rocker arms were like cut up real bad. Not the rocker arms, but the cradle for the cams were chewed up nasty. So now I have that whole rocker arm assembly as parts. So I figured, fuck it, man, I'm gonna use that. So I'm gonna use those parts that I had, you know, and put that on and go the VTEC killer route. So the other day when I was talking about the VTEC killer follow-up, I didn't properly understand what I was looking at, you know, exactly how the setup goes and works. So this time I actually do. I looked at it a little bit more. You do use both cams, both real VTEC cams. And there is no pin lock for this. You don't pin lock this. Although I imagine you could, if you wanted to go that route, you could do that. Use the A2 rocker arm assembly and just lock the pins, but that's more money that you need to spend. So how it works is, you know, if you're pin locking, you're locking the VTEC in place. That way you're always activating your full activation of the VTEC, right? So with this setup, you use the exhaust rockers on both sides, right? Because the intake cam is the only cam that has VTEC on there. So what you do is you use the exhaust rockers from the A3, because those are one solid piece for both valves, and you just put those on the intake side, so that way VTEC is always locked in. You don't need to pin lock it in. So that's how the VTEC killer works, right? And also, like I was saying, I have so many fucking EP3 heads and shit around. I think that once I get settled, it'll be months later on down the road. So probably deep in the middle of next year, or towards this time next year, I'm going to start taking another look at my A3 heads, because it's something I considered doing, was just like rebuilding them, because I have the tool that's easier for that. I would have to buy another tool to do LS heads or whatnot, so being a cheap ass, I'm not doing that. And even then, I still don't think that those would sell regularly. So with the EP3 head, you know, the A3 head or the K24 A4 head or whatnot, you know, I break that down pretty easy, change valve seals, and then if I can get the cams relatively cheap, like $150, then I could pre-build fucking VTEC killer heads and sell those. Yeah, because obviously there's enough fucking fans for that setup. Also, this way too, it gives me an idea of what to expect. There's still, you know, the majority of horsepower numbers I see from VTEC killer setups are, you know, it depends on how far people go out with the bolt-ons and shit. but it's still relatively where I expected to be at. None of them are crossing 200 horsepower. If the reason why, the main reason why I argued against this is because why would you go through the efforts of buying the cams and modifying rocker arms and shit like that when the money you would spend to do that, you could just buy an A2 head which flows better and will definitely make more horsepower than the VTEC killer setup will, which is true, it will. You can bolt this on and definitely make more horsepower than going through the steps. But I have an abundance of K-series parts. And I happen to have everything that I need. Like, I bought the Z3, the one that came with the warped head off of it, had a blown head gasket. I knew it had a blown head gasket when I bought it, but I paid $200 for it, and the rotating assembly alone was worth it. The crank was healthy, the pistons and rods were healthy, so that's worth the $200 right there. So the head being warped isn't really that big of a bummer. And again, it still might be savable, and I can always buy TSX cams or upgrade to aftermarket cams, whatever, or whatever. Because I buy engines on a regular, I'll be getting back to buying engines soon enough that it's not a big deal for me to mix and match parts, which is why I'm gonna do this VTEC killer shit. As far as me, if you're wondering what I expect from horsepower, I do believe that full bolt-ons and the high compression will be enough to cross the 200 horsepower mark. I would expect anywhere from 15 to 20 horsepower. So maybe 215, 220. Maybe a little higher, maybe 225. If it breaks 220, I'll be happy as fuck. And then if it breaks 230, then I guess I'll give a lot more credit to the cam setup. Although, even if let's say the high compression and the bolt-ons alone makes 200, and then throwing the VTEC killer setup will make it 230. Let's just say that the VTEC killer setup in this situation makes 230 wheel horsepower. Well, even though the add-on cams did that, you still have to complement the high compression to begin with, because bigger cams, more aggressive cams benefit more from higher compression. So you're going from 9.8 something in the EP3, the A3 setup, to 11.5 in this. So it's going to be a pretty significant bump up in compression, right? So yeah. I guess, and then of course I'm going to be doing this on pump. So whatever the fuck I'm pulling out on pump, if I were to go E85, I would imagine it would be a decent amount more horsepower, right? So we're going to find out. Hopefully we're going to find out, guys. As far as my timetables, what I expect for myself to see this project done, I'm going to change my Facebook listing right now for that engine to see if I can get an EG shell. If I get an EG shell, that'll be great. That's, of course, for me in this situation, it'll be motivation. The reason why I didn't finish that yesterday is because I didn't go outside and get the cam gear off that head. So I gotta get that cam gear, the RBC cam gear off before I go on here, because the A2, the KTSX head doesn't come with the 50-degree time gear. So I'm gonna use that because I'm definitely using an RBC intake manifold. So I want all the power I can get out of that, right? So I'm gonna do that upgrade. So I'm about to measure out my EP3 head, because I have one sitting here right now, one I used as a donor for parts the other day. I'm going to measure that out and see if it measures out healthy. And if it is, then I'll just grab parts off of another head again and swap it out. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But for sure today, I'm going to put that cam gear on. Once I get that cam gear swapped over, then I can drop the cams in place and time it. The engine is all together. The only thing it needs to go on right now is the cams need to be put on and timing, and of course the timing cover and the fucking oil pan needs to be put on. But other than that, it's gonna be done. I think it's generally speaking, it takes a couple hours to do that. But I'm gonna knock that out today for sure. I'm just my kids are gonna be up for school in about a half hour exactly. I'm probably gonna sit around and wait for the sun to get up, or I might take a nap and then wait for my wife to come home and wake me up around 1. And as soon as that happens, I'll go out and grab the shit I need, because I don't want to fuck with mosquitoes in the back. I don't want to if I go out there, my body heat radiates, they'll come and kill me. I don't want to deal with that, and I'm not gonna douse myself in DEET to go outside right now. So I get my big boy K20 off the stand tonight. I'll have another long block to stash in my bedroom, and then I will immediately put the K20 Z3 back on the stand, dig out my A3 crankshaft, drop it in there. I will be mounting A2 pistons on the A3 rods. I already have the stash set aside. They're already ready to be repistoned. So put that on there, and I could potentially have the rotating assembly completed tonight. Yeah, so there's that. Anyway, like I said, I took another job interview yesterday. The recruiter hit me up like a couple hours afterwards. He says he's gonna follow up, find out what's going on. The lady who told you to offer the 2450. I'm still pending her, but in the meantime, I'm not gonna wait around anymore doing nothing. So Blake been doing towing like for as long as I've known him, right? And when I initially got fired / quit Ryder, I knew that would be an option if I needed it, but it's not something I have any experience with, and I hate fucking trying to learn new jobs, and the anxiety there, and also I know that even though he pulls in like around $1,000 a week, that's because he works 12 hours a fucking day and he constantly hustles, and I don't want that. I want a normal job, and I don't want to have to hustle to fucking make money, and I like to know that my paycheck is consistent, because they make money based on the calls they get. So if you have a low volume week, then you get a low volume paycheck, and I can't live like that. I can't live with wondering if my paycheck is gonna be 500 or 1,000. I can't live like that. So I talked to him the other day, because he did kind of hint that, hey, you want to come work? We could use a body, and I was like, oh, I could definitely use the work, but I can't do that long term. I'm gonna be continuing to look for mechanic's job to get back doing what I normally do, because I like my $900 paycheck. So there's that. Anyway, the whole thing is me telling you guys is that I'm going to be going back to work. He says he needs a body by Friday. If that still stands, Friday would be the latest I would expect to hear back from this interview from yesterday. So if Friday comes and they're not talking about moving forward with the hiring process, then I guess I'm going to start training up to do some towing. And that'll bring me some money, in the meantime, while I'm still looking to get back into maintenance. So the good thing about that is I'll have some money flowing again. But yeah, I'm gonna complete the VTEC killer engine. If in a perfect world, it'll be finished 100%. The long block will be 100% finished by this weekend. I already bought a head gasket. When I dropped off my fucking battery, I got a head gasket. So I picked up a head gasket already. The block is already prepared. I just need to put it in. The heads I have are relatively clean. So yeah, I can imagine the block will be done quick. I have the water pump assembly stashed on the side. I have a starter already stashed. So it wouldn't really be, and of course I have a transmission. I even have a clutch and flywheel that I'm pretty sure I could get away with using on this. So I could have a complete swap, whenever. Like as soon as I finish the long block, I could bolt on a clutch flywheel and have the transmission on there. I would just need a shell and mounts to get it in place. So this would be another reason why I decided to go with this route. And besides having an expendable car that could definitely draw people's attention, it's not going to be boosted. It's going to be NA, so it's going to be a lot less shit to deal with. A lot smaller injectors I'm going to need to buy, so it won't cost me so much money. Same thing like fuel pump. Of course, normally I get the same ones anyway, but it's just a lot less hassle, a lot less moving parts. I don't have to worry about piecing together a turbo kit, all that shit. So it's just a lot less shit to deal with. So hopefully the car will be done a lot faster. The only thing I can say is that because we're going to be moving out of this place at the end of this month, even if I get a shell before I move, I can't say when I'll be able to get a swap in place, because I still got to buy mounts. Now I'm going to buy a generic mount kit, so it's going to be like $160 to $200 for that. But I just don't expect that I'll have a shell and swapped before I move out of here. So, but if I can get the shell and I can get the swap in, then the rest of the shit comes relatively quick, because at that point it's just buying the conversion harness, buying the fuel rail setup that I'm going to need, and then K-Pro. So this is definitely not going to be something that drags on for years due to circumstance. I'm going to get a car that's not fucked. I'm not going to fuck with the car to fuck with any of its essentials. So that way, as soon as the engine is running, it'll be ready to go to the dyno. It won't be like, I got to repair brakes, or I got to put rotors, or all this random ass bullshit that should have been non-issue. Alright guys, so anyway, I just thought you guys would like to hear about that. It's cool. I'm not going to change my mind on this K thing. I'm definitely going to go through with it. As far as my B18 build, I definitely want to do that swap too, but it'll have to wait until after the K thing is done. So I'm just going to lug it around. I still want to finish that long block. So once money starts coming on a regular again, I'm not broke anymore, I'll go ahead and buy that head stud kit just so I can put the head on, because I've already got the head gasket for that too. It's a blue one. The K20 head gasket is sitting behind that. So I'll do that. Same thing with the single cam. I will buy an individual head stud and a head gasket, and then I can complete that long block. That'll be another boosted setup. So hopefully when it is what it is will happen be I'll do this K, and then right after I get the K knocked out, I'll do the next one, and then I guess I'll just flip a coin whether I'm going to do the B or the D next, and go from that. As far as the super big bore K20, the 88mm K20, I do want to do that in the RSX. That could be a project that I could potentially do alongside of another car. I have to have a daily at all times. I have to have a functioning car. So if the Integra is 100% drivable and safe, then I could potentially, then I can start potentially digging into the RSX to do that swap. But then there is to consider the fact that the RSX has fucking AC, and any project car I'm going to have doesn't. AC is a big deal. And I used to never have AC before, but I've gotten used to having it now, so I like to have that kind of creature comfort. So the more I think about it, man, the more I fucking think I might not swap the RSX for a really long time, man. Like, unless I have to, if the engine blows up or whatnot. It does have a huge fucking oil leak. That's a problem. Like, I hadn't checked it in months since I got the car. I hadn't done just a basic oil check. And man, when I checked it, it was down to the bottom of the dipstick. It was 2 quarts low. So I do have a profuse oil leak. If you're wondering why I didn't notice it before, it's because I also have a coolant leak. So I thought that the oil was fucking coolant, and I was like, I don't know. Let me check that real quick. Because I have to regularly add coolant to the car. Every week or so, it's like a quart low on coolant, if even that, maybe like not so much, but a noticeable coolant leak. So yeah, there's little basic upkeeps and shit that keep with the RSX, but because of the fact that I work slow, I don't want to fuck myself out of a very comfortable car. And then of course that goes along with the idea that I was thinking about buying a brand new car still for me. But that means I have to get back to my normal job where I'm making my normal paycheck. Once I do that and I'm working again and everything is looking really solid, if I have an idea like, hey, this job is going to be for sure long term, then I might be looking at buying me a brand new car for a daily. And then something I'll keep and then trade out as the years go by and it gets older. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But if that's the case, then all my Hondas I have are up for swappability. But I just like my creature comforts. I really like having AC and a daily driver, and I have to have a daily driver. So we'll see how that goes for the RSX swap. But I plan on doing a lot of shit this year. I have friends that are moving from West Virginia that are coming down. The homeboy that's moving down, he's on 100% disability, so I don't know if he's going to work or not. And he and his girlfriend both want to get into the Honda game like hardcore. I've realized that my problem has been, like, I was thinking I just need to get more engines done, more people running my engines, that way people can see that I'm getting stuff done. But it turns out that, just like I said, I've got old videos showing my engines running. People still don't give a fuck. They don't care. I think if you remember Django Unchained, where Leo's character was like, he's like, well, you had my curiosity, now you have my attention. I think that's the kind of situation I fall into right now as a YouTuber. My growth is steady and nonstop, and I steady grow every day. But I think that the guys that I've met, like, the 4-piston guys, Jesse and everybody, I think at this point it's not like they don't believe that I can't build an engine that's solid or whatnot, because that's, the cars are out there, man, they're running, making power. I think at this point it's like, hey, what can you do on the drag strip? Like, the most eyes and the most attention comes from the actual racing. So I think the only way I can really, gain any more attention or raise myself any further up in the levels right now I have is to actually start putting cars on the track. So when I tell you guys this year that I'm not going to drag ass with projects, that's 100% the case. I really mean this. I really want to hope that I get a house where I can work comfortably on my car, whether it's a carport or something like that. If I can get a carport, I'll fucking hang tarp all around that motherfucker to try and keep the bugs out and keep prying eyes out, and then I can work at night. That's a big thing for me. But I really do want to fucking get some cars done, get on the track, even if it's like low horsepower cars. Like if it is 250 horsepower Ks, just take some low powered cars just so I can get seat time again. Yeah, if I get a 250 horsepower car, that should be fast enough to break high 12s. So I would imagine when I debut on the track on street tires, I'll probably run 14s. and then I get used to making the passes, get drag radials, start, you know, shaving back the time, and then eventually move on to actual, you know, slicks, see how good I can get on radials, and then move to full on slicks and see about working on best time. But I would, you know, like I said, at 250 horsepower and an older chassis, high 12s should be something that's doable, even if it's just a 12.9. So I guess that's my goal this year for 2020 is not just to have more engines built out there and people running. I really need to put something on the track. So I guess that when I do this the VTEC Killer, it's not going to be like I finish it and I'm trying to sell it or trade it right away. I'm going to finish the car and I'm going to try to get myself out there on track. Or if I can link up with somebody who I know has already got seat time and then have them drive the car for me. Just that way I can get some quarter-mile passes done, you know, show what the cars can do, just to get a little bit more attention. And yeah, you know, the attention, if you're wondering, is just because I do want to make money. Like, I want to make money selling parts is my main thing, but if I could sell engines too, that'd be great. As far as like merchandise and shit like that, I'm gonna be working on it soon. I'm just not in the position where I can. Same thing with the website. I do want to do the website. The reason why I'm waiting right now is I'm going to collaborate with Christian from Honda Vlogs. We're going to see about getting that done. He's double tapped that to let me know that yes, he wants to do it. Right now what I'm waiting for is just to get into a better position where I have work and then talk about doing that. And then as far as merchandising and shit goes, I don't know about shirts just yet, but I am going to try and work on decals. I know somebody who does that kind of shit. So if I can talk to him, if he can make a batch for me at a decent price, then I will do that. I will make those and I'll sell them. And once I make the decals, then I will share my Patreon information with you guys because I don't have it yet. But as far as the people who've already bought engines from me, if you want decals, I will just give them to you for free. Because what it's going to be like if me having decals is if you buy an engine off of me, I'm going to send you a couple for free. Anyway, you know, I would want you to represent if you can, if you're interested. So that would be the idea. So if anybody that's already bought shit off me, you can just hit me up and I'll send you your decals once I get them. And then I'll let you guys know when I have them. For those of you guys that want to, you know, just, you know, rep the name, just for showing support or whatnot, and I'll do that as well. I would imagine the whole idea is to sell them for like $5 a pop. But I guess it really just that price is gonna be determined on how much money I gotta pay to get it made. So yeah, this video wound up being a whole lot longer than I expected it to be. But if I guess the long-term watchers or the guys that are hardcore that want to know everything, and then everybody else will be just like already out in the first 10 minutes when I finish talking about the B series. But yeah, that's it. That's an update. That's some shit that was on my mind I wanted to talk about, so I was able to get it out there now. And yeah, so if you guys aren't watching on Instagram or whatnot, that's a great place to go because I've had people that ask me all the time, like, what do you have ready for sale or whatnot? You know, if you follow me on Instagram, you know, because all my work and all my projects come up there. I can't really make videos every time I'm building an engine individually because it would just be really boring. Like, hey, I'm building another engine, guys. Like, go fucking figure. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I have been poking and peeking at my analytics, and my overall view average is a lot lower than I expected. So seems like a lot of people are clicking and not watching long term. So for you guys that do watch, I really appreciate it. You know, and of course I generally know who does because when I talk to you guys, you know, the fact that you are saying something for the end of the video lets me know what's going on. So I know there's some of you guys out there who like the long-term videos. So I like to try and cater to both sides. Like make the little ones for bite-sized for people, and then make the longer ones for you guys that like to listen to something like me who don't like to have to click every 10 minutes on a new video. So hope you guys appreciate that. Thanks for watching, and peace.